I'm going to mute everybody and then we'll unmute Joe and we'll kind of get started here. Yep, we're on you, Joe.
Okay. Well, this is supposed to be what I've been doing on my scenery certificate, an update. I've got, let's see, 6 buildings and a part of one here that I've been working on. All of them, I've put interiors in with lighting. So when I show you two, I got to switch the lighting plugs around. So bear with me for a second or two when I do that. This first one here is an A&P. Had one that my dad did our grocery shopping at down in the West End, 38th and Broadway, back in the 50s. And it was similar to this. And if you can see in the picture, in the video there of it, it's got a complete interior in it. And of course, it's lit. The sign, the supermarket A&P, that's scratch built. And you can see a little bit of the roof detail up here. I've been playing around with putting roof detail, like air conditioners and refrigeration units and so forth like that on a lot of tops of the buildings that I've been working on. And I think that really adds to a building to get the clutter up there. So anyway, there's my version of the A&P. That's got a little bit of, I think the kit is a Cornerstone. And then the interior is various manufacturers. To some of it's scratch built, like the checkout counters, stuff like that. That's scratch built in there. It's got little grocery carts over here that you can see through the window. Some of the signs that's in the windows, I download those off the computer for their actual ads. It was back in the 50s for the A&P food market. So that's the first one. So we'll move on to the next one now. And I might add that these, the lighting systems that I'm using is the Woodland Scenics Just Plug. And I'm really impressed with that. They're easy to work with, easy to place in the buildings. And I think I posted pictures of this one, maybe on the division or the Facebook division site. This is my version of a Standard Oil gas station, 1950s gas station. The lettering on there that says standard, my wife cut those out for me on her die cutting machine, each individual letter, and then I mounted them on 2 little strips of styrene and then painted them in the blue that Standard Oil was used. And as you can see, it's got a complete interior where you would pay, for the services that you had done to your vehicle. And the up on the rack there, you can see over here, if I can get my finger there, you can see there's a car up on the rack and they're getting an oil change. Various tools in the middle bay there. Got a guy on a creeper laying underneath a Ford station wagon. And he was kind of interesting because I needed his legs bent to make him where he would lay down on that creeper. And so I heated him up with a match and he kind of caught on fire, but I got him out fast enough to where I didn't completely lose him. So you never know when you're working with fire there. And of course there's the Standard Oil signage out in front of the gas station. And I might add gas is about, I think it's like 24 cents a gallon, something like that, maybe 26 cents for ethyl. And so that was back in the good old days when you could fill your car up for about $5 or less. So anyway, there's my version of a Standard Oil service station. That's a City Classic station, and with the interiors from with Woodland Scenics and what is it, JTL or something other like that. And so that's the gas station. I'm unplugging and I'll get to 2 more here ready to go now. Just a sec. There we go. Okay, this is an oldie but a goodie kit. It's the I think Vanderbilt Railroad Model Craftsman building that was, I think an AHM put it out a long time ago. And I put one of them together many years ago, but this is a new one that I purchased and got to put together. And I put an interior in it, as you can see in the picture there. And I've always kind of been fascinated by Rexall drugstores for some strange reason. I guess because I kind of grew up with those. They've been around a long time though, and along with Taylor Drugs and some of the other ones. And but this one here come out a little bit better than that very first one I put together a long time ago. And it's got the tower up on top of it with the clocks. And my clocks on my buildings, I've got one that I scale to the size that I need, and it's the same picture. So all my buildings will have the same time on them, because so many times you get clocks with buildings, but they all got, they got different times than what the rest of your buildings does. Which, if they're not too far off in time, that's not too bad. But when they get 2 or 3 hours off, then that's another ballgame if somebody's really paying attention. So I just photocopy I guess you'd say the model clock that I got and scale it down to whatever size I need to do with it, and then go from there. So there's my version of the Rexall drugstore.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
A guest wanted to know the way you painted the Standard Oil station there. Was that just kind of like generic, or is that the way, if they had them in Kentucky or Louisville, is that the way they had them painted?
Well, is that when I was growing up out in Fairdale, Kentucky, there was a gas station it looked just exactly like this. It was a Standard Oil. It had the 2 bays, and of course where the cash register section was and all this. And it was painted up in these colors, and Standard Oil colors was red, white, and blue, I guess, being patriotic. And so anyway, the building itself comes in white, and then I added the red stripes around the top and painted the blue down at the bottom around the base down there. So
Standard Oil stations in Kentucky had that type of paint. Now, I will say one thing: the sign is not what the Standard Oil used, because that's Standard Oil of Indiana, and they had Kentucky for some reason was its own corporate company. It had a different logo, different sign, different logo.
Okay.
You don't see it anywhere either. That's the problem.
Yeah. Bob, if I remember right, of all the Standard Oil, at least the ones I remember, Kentucky were always Chevron. And
well, Standard Oil, I worked for, not to get into a big long detail, I worked for a distributor for Standard Oil at the time, and Standard Oil California bought Standard Oil of Kentucky, and that's when they switched over to Chevron.
okay.
Yeah, it was Standard Oil when I was growing up.
Yeah,
So.
Yeah,
and then,
I will say the best of what I could remember, that's what it looked like, the sign and everything up in Michigan. So
yeah, I would up there, but not in Kentucky.
Well,
And then it went to Chevron.
yeah, and Ohio was still different because it was always Standard Oil of Ohio.
Yeah, it's Ohio.
So
It's hard to find a generic Standard Oil since the different companies were in different areas, and they were separate companies.
Okay. My next building here, it's a cornerstone building. Walther's, of course, has beaucoup buildings that they've manufactured and put out, and they work really good, or go together really good. They've got quite a bit of detail in them. Like this is a jewelry store, And I really like the way the windows turned out. They've got the windows in this is it's got a center section and then two curved pieces come out to form that rounded glass effect. And I can remember seeing buildings, and probably still buildings downtown Louisville, if they haven't broke all the windows out anyway, that look just exactly like this, with the silver trim around the window and the black at the bottom and then black at the top with some logos and stuff. And this has got some of the parts that come with the kit was the Venetian blind effect, which is really neat looking. And you can see that on the sides there too. There's quite a bit of roof detail that I put up there for some air conditioning units and different things like that. It's got a sign that came with it that says watches and diamonds on that particular sign. You have to paint that and then cut out the watches and diamonds that goes on both sides of it and then apply it. And I've got a sticker maker that comes in real handy for doing stuff like that when that's the same way on the display windows down here. I reversed those and made reverse stickers, and then all I did was press them up against the clear windows to make them give that depth look in there. And you got a guy coming out here with a bag of goodies to, I guess, take home to his wife. And then if you can see inside the door there's a salesman and a lady standing in there, and she's probably going to put somebody in debt a little bit there. And then if you look over here, you can see a fake staircase that's part of the printout that comes with it. It looks like stairs going up to the second section on there. So like I say, that's my version of the jewelry store. Of a jewelry store, not the jewelry store. And I don't remember if I showed this one or not. I think I may have put it on Facebook at one time also, but I don't think I've showed it at these get-togethers like this before. So I'll go ahead and plug it in if I can get it plugged in here.
Joe, are these going, do you have a place for these on your layout, or some of them or all of them?
Yeah, they go in the section that I'm actually doing for the scenery, which the buildings are part of the scenery, as you know from the instructions that comes with it. And they're going into the town of Whitesburg, which it's named after the town, or my hometown of where I was born, but it doesn't basically resemble Whitesburg. They did have an A&P and you know, various stores, of course, and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, this is an oldie but a goodie also. This, I think it was maybe put out by Helgen or AHM or somebody like that originally. And I'm not even really sure who has the rights to it now, maybe Pola or somebody like that. It's you know, they keep buying their modes from different, you know, from people as they go along. But anyway, the first thing on the left here, the first store is a Red Goose shoe store. And all my signage on here came off the internet, and I downscaled them to the proper, you know, scale for the building and so forth. And the bank building has got Venetian blinds, so there's no interior in it, but the center store and the Red Goose shoe store on the end has got interiors in it. And it's got a little bit of roof detail that came from some kid along the way, those kind of odd looking air conditioning units or whatever they are up on top there. Those didn't actually come with the building. They was something that I had in a scrap box. So I said, well, might as well use them. So I put them up there. And the middle building is a heating and plumbing place. And it's kind of hard to see and get it close enough to see, but it's got a lady in there sitting behind the desk, and there's a couple of customers sitting in there and some other stuff on the walls, like a calendar, different things like that. There's a coat rack in there, different things. And maybe I can turn it a little different angle. There you can see a little bit better some of the detail that's in there. then you got the Metro Bank. And again, the window treatments up here with the curtains and so forth, they came with the kit itself. And then the clock that's on the end of the bank building here, now that's got the same clock in the middle of it as the drugstore that I showed you a few minutes ago. It's just a little bit bigger than the one that was on the drugstore, but it's the same clock, so it's got the same time. And then, of course, the back of this building has got, some bars across the windows, keep all the bandits out and all that kind of stuff, and steel doors on the rear of it and all this stuff. So, and that's my bank building. This one here is a cornerstone building also. And as you can see, it's a church. And I kind of set it up just on the temporary display thing here. It's just sitting on a piece of cardboard. But I kind of set it up to where the cars and so forth are kind of set up like the picture is on the box. Of course, you got 50s and, 50s. As far as I go in my era is up to 1960. 60 back is my era for my time zone on my railroad. And of course, it comes with the little marquee here. It says Cornerstone Community Church. It comes with a handicap ramp. So I've got a little guy pushing, I don't know, his grandmother up the ramp in a little wheelchair. Preacher standing up here on the front porch or stoop. This lady right here, she's got a walker that she's trying to maneuver to get inside the church with. Now, the reason this one didn't lit up is because the stained glass window that came with it, it's printed out on, I guess you'd call it like cardstock. And I was going to light this one up, but the lights don't show through because it's too thick. So, but I do have another church I'm going to build, and I've actually got some kind of sort of stained glass windows, so it should light up and look real good when you get it lit up. And of course, this is one of the churches that, had their own graveyards and so forth, kind of on property. And so I've got this Woodland Scenics tombstone set here to go with this when it gets set in place on the layout where it's going to take its final place. So that'll be added to it. And of course, the automobiles and so forth like that, like I say, it comes with it. And the crosses that's right here, you get the one that's up on top. That comes with the kit. But then the crosses that's in the right where the steeple starts, Sue cut those out for me on her die cutting machine also. It just amazes me what that thing can cut out and how small it can go down to. And those are placed all the way around as you go around the entire steeple there on all four sides. And those are embossed in the plastic from the manufacturer, but trying to paint those little tiny churches or tiny crosses with a paintbrush, especially if you've got a hand that kind of shakes from getting older and so forth. So she cut them out for me, and I made them into a sticker and stuck them on there. So they turned out a whole lot better than what I could have done with a paintbrush, for sure. And then the final building, I've just have started it. It's under construction. This is a building flat, as you can see. Here it's not very deep. And this is going to be on the back wall in my town of Whitesburg. And I'm thinking that since there's going to be a mine to the right as you're looking at that section of the layout, I'm thinking this is going to be a mining supply building of some sort that supplies the mine with different materials that they need. But they're pretty neat. They're still got to put the roof on it, and I've got kind of a fake interior that I'm going to put in there that looks like you can see stuff stored inside the warehouse as you look in through the windows and so forth. And then, of course, it'll have a dock in the front for truck traffic and rail traffic coming in, delivering and so forth like that. And that's what I've been doing for ever how many months it's been since we did this the last time. And as I said a time before, I think eventually I'm going to actually get around to building, putting grass and trees and all that good stuff down. But I got to get the buildings done first. There's not too many more buildings that's going to be in this section. So I think I'm just about ready to start, doing some actual scenic work, as I call it. So I think that concludes my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I'll do my best to answer those.
Okay, Joe, thank you. We're running a little bit long on time here, but let's take a minute or two and have some quick questions if we have
Okay.
any. Thanks very much, Joe. Some nice looking stuff for sure.
Thank you.
Joe,
Yeah.
here's a thought for you on your drugstore or the jewelry store on the second floor. You need to put a dentist office up there. I yank 'em dentist. Nice stuff there, Joe. And the roof details, that's what since we look down on these structures, that's most of what we see. So you can put any kind of junk you want up there, and anything looks better than nothing. And you raise the ante considerably.
Yeah, I agree.
You raise the ante considerably when you start lighting those things, because then you have to detail the interior, and then you got to figure out how to make that look good. So I celebrate your success at that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I say, the Wood and Scenic Just Plug It, that's made lighting in a building a whole lot easier. I've used, I don't know if you remember the Walthers that used to have the little, looked like fluorescent bulbs that plugged into two little sockets. And of course, then you have to get back in there to change the bulbs out if they go out. And it becomes quite challenging to figure out how to get back in there to change the lights out. And of course, there's no need to light something other if you're not going to be able to see, straight into the building anyway, because I have put interiors into stuff that you would never even know there was an interior in there unless I absolutely pointed it out to you. So it's kind of useless to spend that much time if it's not going to be seen. But these are going to be foreground buildings basically. So I figured they had to be something, in there.
Joe, have you?
Yeah, dentist office. Although I don't really like going to the dentist, that might be, something, to add. Put a big tooth up or something other for their sign or something other.
Hey, Joe, have you?
Any other question?
On some of your buildings there,
Yes.
have you had it where, say, like on the upper floors, that you're going to use the, the dimming portion of the just plugs to where you get different lighting effects, or haven't you got that far with it?
Yeah. That's another thing. It's so simple because it's got a little knob down here, and you just turn it just like a regular dimmer switch, and you can make it brighter, or as bright as it'll go, or as little light as that you want to admit. And it's a neat, like I say, it's a real neat system.
But have you
pleased with it?
Have you on some?
Yeah,
of the
you can.
things,
You can definitely.
Section them off to where you can use that feature, or have you just put like one or two of the LEDs in there to where it's just illuminating the whole building?
Yeah, I've got some of them. I've got sections in, and most all of them's got two lights in them, so I can actually. Speaking of lights, my one in here in the dining room is flickering off and on. I think I have a bulb going out in my own home there. So anyway, but yeah, you can, I've got some sections in there, which Bob's holding up something other there.
The gas station you've got, there's a company called Dave's Decals. And if you're looking for an oddball logo, he's got all kinds of stuff. These are in scale, but there are some that he does HO and larger scales also.
Okay.
But you can see that there's some real oddballs on here.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for Standard of Kentucky or something like that, he may even have it.
Yeah.
Well, while we have Bob on the screen here, we might as well just move right on to Bob.
Okay.
We're kind of long on time for you, Joe, but we really appreciate your coming on and showing us what you have. And
Okay.
if you do have questions for Joe, you didn't have a chance to ask him, send him an email, post something on Groups.io, and Joe will get back to you. Or you can even do old fashioned, give him a call.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm sure he'll speak with you. Thanks so
Yeah.
much, Joe.
You're welcome.
Well, like Joe, I've been working on a bunch of buildings, and of course, mine are a little smaller, but this is an N-scale gas station. I didn't light it. Of course, I haven't got it on the layout yet, but it does have at least some partial finishing in the office. I've got gas pumps and other things for it. It's kind of hard to show them in N scale without going some other gas stations also. I think Chris Broughton has this Clark station on his layout. It's a Blair line kit, and they're fun to build and try and get them to look like anything. All the little signs on the gas pumps, the logos, they all have to be applied. And as you can see by the size of my finger, they're kind of small. And I've got a gas station similar to the one Joe just showed, but I did it as a Gulf station. And it's the City Classics. And it's got a partial interior in the office, but I didn't open the doors to show the inside of the car bays. I've got one of the little ones that there's a number of kits available from different manufacturers over the years of this station. It comes as a mobile gas station, and I decided I'd have some different stations on my layout. Again, this is where those Dave's decals come in handy as far as doing all the little different logos and things. This one's got the little dinosaur in a sign on the fence. I've got an air compressor, and you can see it's got an air hose attached to it. And again, you can guess how small that is in N scale. And this is another one I just got. It's a laser kit, and it actually came with more modern gas pumps, but I thought the style of the gas station required these, and they're a much older style gas pump. It's got a partial interior. Again, I haven't lit the building since it's not on my layout yet. And I don't know if I showed this the last time. This is a little tasty freeze that I built. This is a scratch built kit, or it's not a kit. It's entirely scratch built, and got the Tasty Freeze logo off the internet. of some signage of decals and things, and put a few people around the front of it. And it's kind of hard to see being in scale. It's got a little stainless steel thing for dispensing the soft serve ice cream on the inside, a couple air conditioners on the side. I look on eBay all the time to see if there's anything new and exciting available, and this caught my eye. Again, this is in scale. You can see by the size of it, it's not very big, but it's super detailed. It's from England, and that's all paper. It's all pre-cut, pre-punched paper that is very delicate to try and assemble. But it's so much more detailed than any other gas cylinder that I've ever seen that I had to buy the thing. Most of what I've been working on lately are little gas stations and auto repair places. This is Carnaby's Garage. I don't know if any of you remember Neil Carnaby. Used to show up at a lot of the swap meets and actually was helping with Great American Train shows for a while. But this is a kit that he actually put out, and it's got M&N Carnaby on the front of it. It actually comes with a few details and things. The picture of the kit was kind of a greenish color. It's supposed to represent an English Shell gas station, but I changed the coloring on it quite a bit. It's got a actual metal roof on it, which I weathered with paints and pan pastels. It comes in, the roof actually comes in large strips, and I actually cut it down into separate little panels and then hand glued them on there. I'm still building houses. This was a laser kit, and it came with a pre-printed roof, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's actually glossy, and it didn't fare well in the process of installing it, so I'm gonna have to come up with a different roof material for it and re-roof the building. And it's fun in this size. They're such small pieces, you have to pretty much pre-cut them entirely before you apply them to the building, because there's no way to work around all the angles and cutouts and things. That's really pretty much all I've got. If anybody has any questions or wants to buy some trees or anything else.
Bob, I think I asked this on your last presentation, but most or some of the buildings you just showed us, are they going in the new section behind you or scattered out throughout the older sections of the layout?
They're going to be scattered around the layout. I've got, I don't know, I'll see if I can spin this thing around. As you guys can probably see, I've made an absolute mess of the place again. But right there in the background, I've got a large lift out area. That's going to be a city area with houses and streets and garages and things. I'm going to still put some more storefronts and things near the large city. But the area behind me right now is, I need to put track down, and it's actually going to have a lot of industries in it, I think, along with this area, which again is just stacked high with everything.
So
Okay, thanks. Good deal.
you do have some track on the layout, Bob, and you do run trains around there besides built buildings?
I haven't in a long time. I've made such a mess of it again. I actually, 6 months ago, I had this thing pretty much cleaned up to the point where I could run trains. And starting on building buildings and all the rest of the stuff I've been doing, I keep getting stuff out from underneath the layout and stacking it on top of it. I'll work on that next. And it's getting overwhelming again. So I'm going to have to pretty much box up a lot of stuff so I can at least see the layout. I do have a bunch of track and turnouts and everything for the area behind me, and I've got a rough idea what I'm going to do with everything. It should be a pretty nice industrial area, and right where I'm sitting, right here in front of me, I've got a nice big ship that's going to be sitting at a dock. I got this thing on eBay a few years ago. But it's hard to find a nice ship in N scale. But this thing's huge. It's about 3 feet long, and it's true N scale. I need to get some people to put on it and weather it somewhat. But I think it'll be a nice focal point for this section of layout.
Yeah, that's really nice.
There's a company that sells those things, and normally they're $400 or $500 or more. And every once in a while, they stick one up for sale on eBay at 99 cents and let the bidding determine the price of it. And it still wasn't cheap, but if you look at what you pay for the Sylvan scale models, little freighter, either an HO or N scale, they're a couple $100. And I managed to get this one for less than $200.
Goodbye.
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
Okay. Any other questions from Bob? Just go ahead and unmute yourself if you got a question. Nobody except Steve Lasher has commented here. He respects your ability to work with such small stuff.
I enjoy the small stuff. It's a challenge to get things to look nice when they're that tiny.
Yeah. Okay, Bob, as always, it looks like you have plenty to do here, so we'll put you down for another visit in a couple of months, I think, if that's
Okay,
if that's okay with you.
that's fine.
Okay.
Maybe
Thanks.
I'll actually lay some track.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having us in.
Well, thanks for letting me show off some of my junk.
You're welcome. We're going to switch here to Chris Broughton in just a second. Okay, Chris, there you are.
All right. Well, what I've been doing, my layout it's a modular layout, and is some of the oldest modules on there are 12 years old at this point. And, you know, with time, materials, new materials become available, skills improve, all that kind of thing. And sometimes I think the colors maybe fade a little bit over time as well. Couple of the more recent modules that I've built, instead of using ground foam, I used static grass and was really happy with how those turned out. And, you know, since I can't have guys over to run trains, it's a pretty good time to start tearing things apart on the layout and redo some things. So what I've been doing is going module by module and redoing some of the scenery, basically just replacing the ground foam ground covering with static grass. And so on the screen here right now is the materials and tools that I've been using. I use the Silflor static grass. Most of the areas where I'm using static grass are unkempt areas. So I typically use the 4mm, which is fairly tall in scale. And then just to break up I don't want it to be too uniform, because if it's just a field, you're going to see all kinds of variety in terms of weeds and grasses. So I use some of the pull apart grass and buffalo grass to help break up the uniformity. And the buffalo grass is basically just little tufts of static grass, but with an adhesive back. And so they're easy to just pick up with some tweezers and plop down in place. The pull apart grass, you just literally, you tear it off. It's like it comes in a roll, and you tear a little piece off and kind of stretch it out and put it down on top of a static grass, and I'll glue it in place with a little diluted matte medium. And as you'll see in the photos, it kind of helps too, and it helps break things up a little bit. And the static grass applicator I'm using is one I picked up on eBay for about $50 or so. And I don't know if you guys, anyone's on the rail wire, but there were some guys on there that had recommended this particular one. So I thought, I'll try it. And I've been real happy with it. So that's the static grass applicator I use. So basically, here's the picture tells the story before and after. On the left is what this particular corner looked like before. The picture is pretty old. I didn't think to start with before pictures when I started doing this. I thought about it after I'd already torn stuff up. So I had to go back and find some old photos. But on the after side, the right side, you can see where I've replaced the ground foam with the static grass. I've also added or replaced about 90 or 100 trees on the layout as well. Some of the trees I had were too small, I felt, and got some taller trees and clumped them together a little bit more, and just kind of tweaked things a little bit. Didn't really change the content of the scene so much as just the materials. And here on the left is where I had basically scraped up. I sprayed a little diluted alcohol on there and used a spatula to scoop up whatever came loose, and then went back and started relaying it with the static grass. To apply the static grass, I just put straight matte medium down. I brush it on with a brush, and I do small areas at a time because I don't want it to start to skim over, because then the grass won't stick. But I just work in small areas at a time and keep going. And here I also, some of the trees I had on this scene were kind of small, and I decided those needed to be replaced. So I put some larger, more mature trees in the neighborhood. And the two restaurants here in the foreground, Sam and Ella's and Rick's Grilled Cheese Emporium, those two buildings just sort of were sitting on the layout, but never really were not permanently affixed, didn't have a parking lot or anything. So I took this time to give them a proper parking lot and actually glue them down and complete the scene more so than what it had been. And here's a couple more shots with everything put back together. Street view on the left from the other side of the module, the side that you would see as you're coming down the steps into the basement. And then you can see the grassy area there under the overpass where all the junk cars and stuff are. That looks a little more, I don't know, unkempt, I guess. It looks like, I guess, what you would expect it to look like more so than it did with the ground foam. And the bridge module next to it, which is just to the left of the overpass, I built it and used static grass. So the transition there is a little more natural. You don't go from ground foam to having a hard line where static grass begins. So it kind of helps the flow a little better. And then over by the yard, I did some more tweaking. The water tower had been bumped a few times. A few of the cross braces had been broken off, and the railing around the tank itself had broken. So I pulled that up and made the repairs. And I thought, you know, while I've got this up, I'm going to paint it. So I repainted it. And before I put it down, I replaced the ground foam in this area with static grass, and pulled up that little dead end road that really went nowhere and turned it into a little gravel turnaround area where crews might come and work on the water tower or service it or check fluid levels or whatever. And may not show up as well in the photos because of the size, but this shows where I replaced the ground foam with more static grass around the locomotive service buildings as well. And I had talked about using the pull apart grass and the buffalo grass to help break up the uniformity. You can see that in the after photo here where I've done that. So it doesn't look like a manicured area. It looks like a place that's just been left to grow over. And this corner module sits between the guys that are familiar with the layout, the bridge and the yard. This module really never evolved into anything. It was just sort of half complete and never really evolved. And the previous iteration of the layout, there was a T-shaped module, and Bob Kuchler had made this scene that I really liked, and I salvaged it from that module and held on to it. It's been a few years since that module's been around, but I held on to this little scene that he created with the abandoned house and the abandoned car, and finally was able to give it a home on this module. And I had to cut it down a little bit. And I've been in the house for 9 years, and when we laid the track on this module, there was a little spur that went off that the thinking was we were going to add a staging yard in my workshop. We're going to punch through the wall and all that. I'm thinking after 9 years, if it hasn't happened, it's probably not. So I pulled that turnout out, and that'll enabled me to go ahead and finish this scene like it is. So I was able to integrate that little scene that Bob had made, and the paint was it's dark colored paint, and use the static grass to kind of blend everything in. So here's where I did the side on the back half of the track, or the back half of the module. And then you started on the front side. I pulled up the little parking area there that really served no purpose, and created a little geography. I took a little piece of pink foam and cut it and carved it, and just to give a little shape, something other than just dead flat on the front there. And when I say that's dirt colored paint, I actually took a baggie of dirt into Home Depot to have it color matched. So I can only imagine the conversations that took place after I left there, but they were actually saying, well, that's one way to hide dirt. And it's like, well, that's really not my aim, but I guess that would work. But so yeah, that's the undercoating I use for my scenery. And then here I am in action, thanks to my wife, Carol. She took a picture of me actually putting applying the static grass. And as you can see, I just coat the area with straight matte medium and go over it with the static grass. And of course it dries clear and matte. So, if there's any areas where the grass is thin, you at least see the dirt color below it. And I think it works out pretty well. So there's the foreground on the right side there. And if you've not seen static grass in person before, here's a close-up of it. The static electricity, the static charge makes those fibers stand up on end. And once it dries, the glue dries, it looks like grass. And I think the effect is remarkable. And here's the completed scene. So I added some trees and some underbrush and whatnot, and it's a nice little rural scene, and I think it creates a little more distance between the yard and the town where the yard resides, and then Carrollville, the next module over, where the most of the switching occurs. And the trees, by the way, we were talking about trees earlier. These I buy from a seller on eBay. They come from China. They come on a slow boat from China. So if you buy them today, you might see them in about a month. But these are all wire armature trees. The foam that they put on them for the foliage is usually a really god-awful green color, like either neon green or just something that looks very toy-like. But the shape of the tree is really nice. And so what I do when I get these, I'll get a can of either camo brown paint or like a charcoal gray paint, and I will spray the entire tree. And then while the paint is still wet, sprinkle Woodland Scenic's green blend on it. And the result is what you see here. So it makes the tree look a lot better. I'm just using the shape, and the trees are pretty cheap too. I think you can get, how many? I think I bought 40. They come in packs of 40 for about $26 or so. So I mean, it's less. It's just cents a tree. It's less than $1 a tree. And doing this little treatment I do doesn't take that long. It's good to do it outside because of the amount of spray paint you go through. But it works, and so there you go. And here's a couple more views of that corner module, so that shows the approaches from both the bridge side and the yard side. And here's a view from basically as you walk into the basement. This is what you see now. So the module, the structure's in the foreground. That's the Carrollville module, named after my wife. And I had built it. It's probably a year or 2 years old. And I used static grass on it, so that's kind of what got a lot of this started. If the guys that have seen, operated on the layout, I'm sure they remember the lack of transition between that module and the one next to it because of the ground foam. And now it flows a lot more smoothly, visually speaking, from across the various modules that you see there. And there's a view from the aisle, and you can see where, like I said, it all flows a lot nicer, I think, scenically. And so I thought I had my presentation done, and then I got a bunch done here in the last 2 days. So I was updating my presentation last night. This is what I've done here just this week, actually. So there's a before photo. This is actually a pretty old module. I think this one is one of the 11 or 12-year-old modules that came over on the Mayflower. And it was all done with ground foam. A few years ago, when I first experimented with static grass, I put the little farmer's field there on the far left there. It's a little bit brighter green. So basically did the same process, took up what ground foam I could and went over it with the matte medium and applied the static grass. I went with a brighter green, or more green, I should say. I blend a couple of different colors together, a late summer and an autumn grass to kind of so the green isn't too green. But since this was by water, I wanted to go with a deeper green along the water's edge, and then kind of go let that kind of taper off as you got away from the water. And moving on, I went from there around the corner of the layout. And so that's a corner module back over by where the coal mine is. So the coal mine is just to the the right in this photo, and the little stream is to the left. And so that shows the corner, the center picture. Same thing. I added a lot of new trees here, replaced a lot of trees with taller trees, and added the static grass and the pull apart grass. So same process I've been going through. And there's another shot looking from one corner across that stream over to the far corner, and shows how the scenery kind of all flows together now. And I just really like this photo. Really like how that turned out. And that's it. So that was the last slide.
Very nice, Chris. Good demonstration of the importance of static grass.
It's a game changer. When I was a kid, the thing was the colored sawdust, and then ground foam came about, and that was like the quantum leap in terms of scenery material. And now I think the static grass is kind of the same level of quantum leap from ground foam when you look at what it allows you to do, and the improvement in the colors and the texture and all that. So I'm a believer in it. So, and it's easy to use. It's one of those things where you read about it. It seemed a little intimidating when I first read about it and just started experimenting with it. And it's like, no, this is easy. You need the tool, obviously, the static applicator, but I don't think I could ever go back.
Yeah.
And Chris, speaking of your tool, now, and I know Mike Barry's in on this, and at the shop we sell or have sold kind of at the time a cheapie. It's just kind of like in a little basket, which was a lot less expensive than I think at the time the Noach was like $100+ bucks.
Mhm.
But in reading and maybe, like you said, with this new applicator that you have, I found that maybe I wasn't doing it right, but I found that I wasn't, with the cheapie, it wasn't standing up. And I was disappointed in my work. Obviously, what you have there is marvelous. Comments about your tool?
The one for me, you can sometimes hear the static. I mean, it's amazing. I'll hold it about an inch above the surface, and as I move over it, you can see the blades of grass move and hear it sometimes. I mean, that thing's a beast. And the first one I ever used was the one that you described, and the basket, using the longer fibers, that basket, the weave of it was pretty tight, so it was very slow going. You had to really, it took a lot of time to use that. I mean, it did the job, but it was slow going. And this one seems to allow you to move a little at a faster pace. It puts down more material and lets you cover a larger area quicker.
Yeah. So in other words, you get what you pay for.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And this
Now,
one, like I said, it's more expensive than the one you're talking about, but it's nowhere near the Noach device. That thing was 150 or 180.
Yeah, right.
That was the other prohibitive thing for so long, is that was the only one available.
Sure.
And now you've got knockoffs on eBay and things like that are a lot more reasonably priced.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, did you, you said you used the matte media, so obviously the static grass is going on thick enough where you don't see that, say, sometimes with ground foam, you want to either paint a brown or a green before you put it on. So in case some of it doesn't stick, you're not seeing bare wood or something like that. So I take it that, again, the way you're putting on the static grass, it goes on so thick that you don't have to worry about any base color.
No, I do make it sure I still use a brown base color, like on the one corner module over between the bridge and the yard. I use that dirt colored paint, and then that's what I apply over it. So the matte medium dries clear. So if there are bare spots, you're going to see a dirt
Okay.
color underneath it. So it's not going to stick out.
Okay.
You know, it'll look natural.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Chris,
Yeah.
I don't know why Russ is worried about buying a tool to do that. All you got to do is scrub your feet over his carpet 2 or 3 times, and your hand will take care of it. I can't tell you the number of times I've gotten zapped just touching that layout.
It's your electric personality. It's not the static. So.
Yeah, there you go.
You have
Well,
to take precautions around there.
well, wintertime is coming up, so maybe this would be a good time to stick your finger in it, Steve.
I've had this one forever, and one of these days maybe we ought to have a comparison to see just how powerful the different units are. Because the static grass I've tried on my module doesn't seem to be as robust as what Chris has been able to do. But then I haven't been using matte medium. I've been using a different type of kind of watery glue. But I bought this one. It was the only thing available. And I like it, but I haven't really used it to the extent that Chris has.
I tried the
That's
woodland.
exactly the one that Barbara bought at Narragage Convention a couple of years ago. She fortunately, used the girl card and got it for a great price. It still was about $100, but it was a whole lot more reasonable then. And having sat through a couple of clinics with the Scenic Express folks, exactly, Chris, what you were saying, paint that surface first. Get that nice base down there, and then use something like a matte medium. If you're using something that's as thin as iced tea, it's not going to work. It's got to be kind of goopy.
Yeah, and I had tried the Woodland Scenic Cement, which is just diluted matte medium, and it didn't work. So straight matte medium is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Mod Podge myself.
Yeah.
Well, and I
That
was
stuff
going to say,
stuff works very well. I've had good luck with straight up Elmers, full strength Elmers, not the diluted kind. That works pretty well also. But yeah, I got one I made out of the old electronic fly swatter thing. And
I remember that clip.
slow, but it does work. It does.
well, that's what I was going to say. I guess maybe that's where I went wrong, is that I was using like 50-50 white Elmers. So
No.
no. Okay.
Yeah, go full strength.
Okay.
Yeah, I've
But
had
this
this
We've
for,
got another ad, another commercial here, info commercial.
I've had this stuff forever. Somebody gave me about 6 little tubs of it, and as you can see, it's lifelike. So it's probably what Walther sells now, but yeah, it is thin, and that's probably why I haven't had really excellent results like Chris has.
Are we going to see a Kia commercial now?
Ain't got no Kia. Ain't got no Camaro either.
What?
Yes, Russ, I finally did sell it.
You sold the Camaro?
I remember the last time you said that.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be my forever car, but we have decided to become a 1-car family.
Yeah.
Oh.
And got ourselves a hybrid, and got rid of all the gas hogs. Right now it's great. I mean, we drive the 1 car, like twice a week.
The Kuchlers have gone green. Fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
On some of your earliest static grass work, have you noticed any of it kind of laying down on you over time?
I haven't. The little field there that was a little bit brighter green, that had the fence around it next to the stream. That's the earliest one I did, and gosh, I mean it's several years old. I don't remember when I did that, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's at least 5 years old. But it's all standing up. You know, once.
Well, I've run into some of the stuff I've done other places that, of course, with HO, the grass is a lot longer,
Yeah.
which makes it heavier, I guess. And over a period of years, it tends to kind of lay over. But I found out if you get I think it's called an eyebrow comb, women use them, and you can basically just comb the grass back up again.
Huh.
It's a real fine comb, real fine tines on it, and you can just manicure the heck out of that stuff. But yeah, maybe at 2 and 4 millimeter, it doesn't want to lay over quite as much as the
That could
6
be.
to 12 millimeter that we use on HO.
Hey,
Yeah.
Chris.
It's pretty tall.
Chris,
Yeah.
You plan.
one of our guests wants to know, you know, do you find that, you know, one manufacturer of the grass is better than others, or what would you say would be your go-to grass? Was it the Helke there, or?
My go-to static grass is the Silflor static grass.
Okay.
It comes in a variety of colors, a variety of lengths. I like to blend it. Like I said, I'd like to blend the late summer and autumn grasses together. Sometimes I will blend even the lengths. I'll blend 2 and 4 millimeter together. So the cow pasture on where the swing gate is, I'm thinking about mixing short, like the 2 millimeter green with 4 millimeter the autumn color. To look more like a pasture that's been grazed more.
Mhm.
What are you going to do for the cow pie?
haven't figured that out yet. I'll come up with something.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tommy Lindquist, who likes to chew tobacco, he says that works great.
They really do. He has great HO cow pies. Now, I don't know about N scale though.
So get yourself some chew, Chris, and have at it.
Well, yeah, since it's in scale, I may have to go with snuff instead of chewing tobacco.
Yeah, there you go.
He worked just fine.
What's that, Steve?
I said Skoal should work just fine for N-scale.
Oh, but you have that minty.
You never notice it when it dries.
That's what they said about the cow pies.
Well, they don't either. So
Any other questions?
Thanks, Chris.
Sounds like it.
That's it then.
Thanks so much, Chris. Appreciate
Chris,
your
Yeah,
stopping
I
by.
enjoyed it.
work as always.
Well, thanks, guys.
Your layout's looking great.
Thank you.
All right, then. If anybody else has any announcements or anything quick before we go.
I have one. I'm coming up in October to show you little camelbacks and shotguns, and have double shotguns and all that type of stuff. So I'll see you all in October for that one.
Yep, that's right. Fall Downs will be here next month, along with the Russ and Steve show. Thanks, everybody, for coming by. We had a very nice turnout today and appreciate our presenters. See y'all.